We all carry a pottery workshop within our souls, a silent space filled with good intentions in the shadows of projects that we never dared to finish. This workshop is a sanctuary of potential, where every unfinished piece tells a story of a dream that stalled just before the moment of true transformation. Elara is a master of the beginning. Her hands can shape beauty from mud, yet her workshop is a graveyard of things that were never quite completed. She possesses the talent, the vision, and the initial spark, but she is haunted by a recurring fear that stops her at the very edge of success. Every piece represents a moment of inspiration that flickered brightly before being extinguished by the daunting prospect of the final, irreversible step in the creative process. She stares at the kiln, her heart heavy with the weight of abandoned goals. To her, that stone chamber isn't a tool, but a terrifying judge of worth. The kiln requires a sacrifice of certainty. It demands that the artist lets go of control and trusts the fire to define what is truly meant to last. The air is thick with the scent of stagnant earth and the quiet sorrow of 1,000 unlit fires, echoing the silent screams of unfinished business. She is stuck in the trap of the almost done, a place where the comfort of safety outweighs the risky glory of reaching the final, searing high temperature. But every cycle begins with a rush of hope. The initial excitement is like a sweet poison, a surge of energy that makes everything seem possible. In these first moments, the dopamine flows freely. The brain tricks us into feeling the triumph of completion before we have even faced the real struggle. Everything is fluid, everything is easy. The clay obeys every command, and the vision in her mind seems perfectly mirrored in the movements of her hands. This is the honeymoon phase of any project. We are in love with the idea, intoxicated by the potential, and blind to the hard work ahead. The world feels bright and full of promise. It is easy to be an artist when the path is smooth and the destination feels so very close. She feels successful already. The trap is set. She believes she has conquered the mountain, but she has only just arrived at the base of the climb. Our minds crave the new. We are wired to seek the thrill of the start, often ignoring the stamina required to actually reach the finish line. Then the air begins to dry. The clay stops being a willing partner and starts to demand focus, patience, and a much more disciplined, steady hand. The resistance begins. This is where the initial magic fades and the reality of craft takes over, requiring more than just a fleeting, joyous burst of inspiration. We often confuse starting with achieving, but the world does not need more half-baked ideas. It needs the resilience of those who can see things through. The siren call of a new project begins to whisper. It promises the same easy high without the difficult, gritty labor of finishing the current task. And so, another piece is added to the shelf of the unfinished. Another dream is abandoned because it became too demanding for the fleeing, fickle heart. The cycle of the professional beginner is an exhausting loop of excitement and abandonment, leaving nothing behind but a trail of dusty, fragile, forgotten relics. But tonight is different. Elara stands at the threshold of the fire. She knows that to truly create, she must finally face the heat of 1,000 degrees. The first spark is small, but it carries the weight of a monumental decision. It is the moment she chooses to stop running from the final test. As the temperature rises, the workshop is transformed. The cold shadows are chased away by a fierce, unrelenting glow that demands her full and absolute attention. She watches the fire, her mind racing with all the ways this could fail. The heat is a mirror, reflecting her deepest insecurities and her greatest fears. 1,000 degrees is the boundary line. It is the point where the chemistry of the earth changes, turning fragile mud into something as hard as stone. Inside that chamber, a transformation is occurring that she cannot control. The clay is being tested, its molecular structure being rearranged by the power of the flame. Every degree added is a step further into the unknown. There is no turning back now. The process has reached the critical stage of total, searing commitment. The fire is a merciless editor. It burns away the excess, the lies, and the weak points, leaving behind only the core of what is truly well made. She sees a crack form. Her heart stops. This is the moment most people quit, when the imperfections become visible and the fear of failure becomes nearly unbearable. The fear of the 89th minute is the greatest barrier to mastery. It is the terror of losing everything when the finish line is finally in sight. She is in the thick of it now. The excitement is gone, replaced by a grueling physical endurance that tests the very limits of her creative soul. The heat is so intense that the clay seems to dissolve into light. It is at this peak of stress that the most beautiful transformations always occur. She is no longer just a hobbyist playing with mud. She is a guardian of the flame, a witness to the painful birth of something truly permanent. The temptation to stay safe is overwhelming. If she stops now, the pieces might survive as curiosities, but they will never truly be finished masterpieces. But she resists. She chooses the fire. She chooses the risk of total destruction over the certainty of a mediocre, unbaked, and easily broken existence. Now comes the middle. the long, quiet valley of discouragement, where nothing seems to happen but the steady, grinding passage of time and heat. Nature teaches us that growth is not a series of explosions, but a quiet, relentless pressure that eventually breaks through the most stubborn of barriers. Success is the result of thousands of small, unremarkable moments of choosing to stay, choosing to keep going when the initial thrill is long since departed. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It is what carries us across the dark hours when our feelings tell us to just give up. Don't wait for the feeling of readiness. It rarely comes when the work is hard. Instead, just keep feeding the fire, one log at a time. There is a meditative power in the grind. When the mind is tired, the body takes over, moving with the wisdom of practiced, disciplined, and unwavering habits. This is the crucible. This is where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, not through luck, but through the sheer endurance of staying present through the entire process. Motivation is a fair-weather friend. It leaves when things get difficult. But discipline is a loyal companion that stays until the very last embers die. She is tired, she is hungry, and her body aches. But she is more alive in this moment of struggle than she ever was in her comfort. The morning arrives as a silent witness to her triumph. The hardest part is over, and the world is about to see the result of her endurance. The transition from darkness to light is a reward for those who stayed. The sun honors the persistence of the one who didn't walk away tonight. Inside the cooling chamber, the miracle has been completed. The earth has been reborn through the fire, attaining a strength it never possessed in its wet form. Her eyes reflect a new kind of light, not the fire of the kiln, but the steady internal glow of someone who has finally conquered their own fear. The silence that follows the fire is profound. It is the peace of completion, the quiet satisfaction of a job that has been seen through to the end. The cooling process is as important as the heating. It is a time of integration, where the new strength of the pieces is finally locked into place. She opens the door, not with the frantic energy of the beginning, but with the reverent, humble grace of someone who has earned the right to see. This is the moment of rebirth. From the ashes and the heat, something beautiful and permanent emerges, casting its light upon the shadows of the past. She reaches into the heart of her own accomplishment. Every scar on her hands and every drop of sweat was a price worth paying for this moment. It is beautiful. It is real. It is no longer a fragile idea that can be easily crushed, but a stone-hard reality that can last for centuries. The colors are more vibrant than she ever imagined. The fire has added its own touch, a complexity of beauty that no human hand could achieve alone. There are imperfections, yes, but a finished work with a crack is infinitely more valuable than a perfect dream that remained nothing but unbaked, dusty clay. She has broken the cycle. She has proven to herself that she is capable of surviving the heat and coming out stronger on the other side of it. This single finished piece has more weight and more soul than the hundreds of unfinished projects that surround it on the dusty, forgotten shelves of her past. The birth of a finisher is a quiet but monumental event. It is the moment a person stops being a dreamer and starts being a true creator. Finishing is a skill that can be trained. It is a muscle that grows stronger every time we choose to push through the hardest part of the journey. Remember that the struggle you feel in the middle isn't a sign to stop. It is the sound of the heat working to turn your effort into gold. Release the need for everything to be flawless. A finished, imperfect work is a living teacher. A perfect, unstarted idea is a silent, cold ghost. When the initial spark of excitement dies out, rely on the steady flame of your habits. Discipline will carry you when your heart feels too heavy. You have a kiln in your soul too. You have projects that are waiting for the fire. Don't be afraid of the heat. It is your greatest ally. Stop looking for the next new high. Instead, look for the next thing you can finally finish. Today is the day you decide to see it through. What project will you put in the kiln today? The world is waiting for your finished work. Go forth and be a great finisher of your dreams.